What is classics? Well, when I ask that question, you think, actually, what isn't classics? Classics is so many things. So it's the logical analysis of language through studying Latin and classical Greek. But it's also the artistic appreciation of archaeology and artifacts that we would study in classes. It's looking at philosophical questions and understanding those big questions that you might not think you'd ask in a Latin classroom or a Greek classroom. It's studying the intricacies of language and grammar, which is actually very mathematical. And it's also taking into account the broader passage of history and time, and appreciating what we have now, what we know now, and how we think now, and linking that to the classical world. For GCSE Latin, we continue on that linguistic journey from 7, 8 and 9, and we use all the skills that students have developed in those first 3 years as a really good foundation going into GCSE. We cover a new course book at this point called Latin to GCSE, funnily enough, and this is a great course book because it's focused on the new specification, so it's very relevant, and it's also based on loads of amazing mythological stories, which for many people is the reason that they love classics anyway, because it's all about the stories and the cool heroes and the monsters and the heroines and the gods and goddesses and all the interaction between them. So it's broken into 3 exams. You sit a language exam, which, as I've said, is based on all that linguistic information you've built up and knowledge you've built up over the former 3 years and obviously over the 2-year course as well. And then you study 2 set text papers. The set texts are a study of prose set text and verse set text. The verse set text is very often taken from a poem called Virgil's Aeneid, and I think it's my favourite poem. It's just brilliant, and it's a story of the founding of Rome and how the hero Aeneas has had to leave a burning Troy and take a few followers with him and his son and his father, and had to travel through the Mediterranean world, undertake loads of different tasks and undergo very horrible experiences, culminating in a war, a civil war in Italy, to then go on to found the Roman Empire and be that initial beginner of the Roman Empire, that founder. And he even comes before Romulus and Remus. So it's an amazing poem to study because it's the basis of so much kind of mythology and tradition for the Romans, but also interlaced within that is that it's a work of propaganda, and that's what makes it really interesting to study as a political text as well as just for the love of a really good story, and how the author Virgil interweaves so skillfully the mythology with that what's going on politically at the time, the fact that there has just been a civil war in Rome between Mark Antony and Octavian, the first Roman emperor who becomes Emperor Augustus, and it's just a brilliant, really good text to study, and I love it. And those of you who will go on to study classics further will see that it's a seminal text as well in the classical community. That's what you study for the verse paper, and then for the prose paper we study, funnily enough, Latin prose literature. So that could be some Tacitus, who was a historian who wrote about the rebellion of Boudicca, or it could be some Julius Caesar, who wrote about his wars in France or Britain. And the prose is really interesting from a historical point of view, in looking at real life people, and again the interaction of the Roman world clashing with the foreign world, i.e. Britain or Gaul, now called France, or Germany, and that's really interesting from a historical point of view. So the 3 components offer you three very different kind of experiences of classics, but they all combine, and ultimately through studying the language and knowing the language, you can understand and get loads of different kind of brilliant angles from it. I think it's a brilliant GCSE to study because it's so different, but yet you're able to cross-reference things with loads of different other subjects, and again, just like studying Latin is, it gives you that appreciation and that analytical thought, that kind of lends itself so well to any kind of high-level study of anything. For classical Greek GCSE, it's much the same makeup as Latin GCSE. There are 3 papers. There's a language paper, which covers half of the syllabus, and is, as I've explained for Latin, based on your understanding of the language. You learn your vocabulary, you learn your grammar, and you should be fine with that. And the beauty of classical Greek is that you get to study Greek texts. Again, it's not for the faint-hearted. Greek is a difficult, challenging subject, just like any subject at GCSE, particularly so because of the different alphabet. So it really requires you to, I would say, love the classical world to dive in. But the girls who do study classical Greek and have studied it in the past have a very good record of going on to excellent universities to study classics. In the classics department, we're really lucky because we study ancient Greece and Rome and the world surrounding them. And as a result, it means that we can go on great trips. So in the senior school, students have the opportunity to go to Italy. We have a week-long visit that we run, a trip we run to Italy, where we take in the sights of Rome, and then we travel down the coast, and then we visit amazing sites like Pompeii, which all the students, even if they've chosen not to take Latin or classical civilization for GCSE, all the students will remember from their Cambridge Latin course days in years 7 to 9. And we visit all the sites in Pompeii that they will have met in those studies, and it's really lovely to see the students come to life and remember all those aspects of what they studied and be able to apply it at that site. We stay in Sorrento, which is a beautiful seaside town, and enjoy all the sites that are related to there as well. We also, for an A-level trip, run a classical Greece tour, which again was one of my favourite trips because it's an A-level trip. Students have that just added level of understanding when we're going around the sites, and I mean their sites are second to none in terms of the magnitude of them and the impressiveness of them, and things like the theatre at Epidaurus, that apparently has the best acoustic in the world, and the Parthenon on the Athenian Acropolis, which is just an amazing sight. And I can't even think of all the amazing things because it's just filled and littered with brilliant sights. So that again is a week-long trip, and is so fun. Ascending Mount Parnassus and looking at Delphi and the site that was dedicated to god Apollo, and it's just brilliant. So we have hopefully something for everybody. Alongside all that, we keep abreast of local lectures and exhibitions at museums. We're so lucky in the southeast to have the British Museum and other such places on our doorstep. So we try to open up as many opportunities for the students as possible through trips and visits, and just really try to bring the ancient world to life for them and dispel those that reputation that I think sometimes classics has of being a bit of an archaic subject, where actually it's very relevant to the world we live in.